Hello everybody, and thanks for clicking on this video today. When thinking of vehicles that have had a profound impact not only on the car industry, but the actual fabric and culture of America, a few names come to mind. But it can be argued that no nameplate is more well-known, highly regarded, and has more loyal followers than Ford's F-Series trucks. As a matter of fact, including 2023, the Ford F-Series has been the best-selling light-duty truck in the U.S. for 47 years straight, and the best-selling overall vehicle for 42 years as well. There's nobody in this country, and many others we're sure, that doesn't have a happy memory of at least one of these great trucks in their lives. Because people, as well as things that are well-loved, often are assigned nicknames by their admirers, the Ford F-Series is no different. Spanning more than 75 years and 14 different generations, enthusiasts know these trucks by their nicknames for each generation. Follow along as we bring you the details on each one. We're only covering the basics because otherwise this would be a 4-hour video. Until 1999, with the advent of the Super Duty, Ford's F-Series were all in a single series. There's tons of information on each one should you be interested enough to research them further. If you see your favorite truck in this video, which one is it? Let us know in the comments which ones you'd like us to cover more thoroughly. Now sit back, relax, and be prepared to have wonderful memories recalled as we briefly go through each one. Ford's been building trucks since 1917, when the Model T was the most affordable, popular, and reliable vehicle that a person could buy. Many different industries would see how useful a truck could be, so Ford began selling light-duty pickup trucks and heavy-duty chassis cabs of various capacities. Other companies would satisfy the market by offering a huge selection of specialty boxes and equipment. Ford eventually saw they were losing some market share to these suppliers, so in 1925 they offered a selection of their own bodies. Meanwhile, Ford dealers were also offering customers their own conversions using Ford-designed or third-party models. Trucks became a larger part of the market throughout this time period prior to World War II. After the war ended, there was a pent-up demand for virtually every consumer good you can imagine. But a new vehicle was on nearly every business and family's list. Ford redesigned their truck line for the 1948 selling season, and were now designating all of their trucks, both panel deliveries and pickups, as F-Series with a number following the F. This alphanumeric designation indicated whether it was an F1 half-ton, an F2 3/4 ton, or an F3 or higher 1-ton and larger payload truck. This was Ford's system of identification until 1953, when the F in the model name was followed by 3 numbers: F100 for a half-ton, F250 for a 3/4 ton, and F350 for a 1-ton truck. Heavier-duty models were identified as numbers divisible by 100. Here are the years for each generation and the nicknames given to each. Gen 1, 1948 to 1952. They're called bonus-built, the advertising term Ford was using at the time to promote these all-new trucks. Gen 2, 1953 to 1956. They're affectionately known as Effies, or fat fenders, for obvious reasons. Gen 3, 1957 to 1960. Because the body design now appeared to be very square overall, especially compared to the previous offerings, these trucks are nicknamed Fridge because their shape resembles that of a refrigerator from the time period. Gen 4, 1961 to 1966. Ford dropped the panel van for this and all future generations, but increased the amount of different commercial trucks they'd offer, both lighter and heavier duty for nearly every customer. Because these trucks were now styled to look extremely modern, enthusiasts have dubbed these slicks, or slick 60s. Gen 5, 1967 to 1972. Ford was closely following the styling cues of their competitors, and 1967 was also a complete redesign for the trucks from General Motors. Like Ford, their newest models were radically different than the 1961-6 pickups. Ford designers would put more trim on these, and the sheet metal was convex, and trim moldings highlighted these areas. They're appropriately called bump sides. Gen 6, 1973 to 1979. Although these trucks were essentially the same under the skin as those of the Gen 5, the styling was now reversed of what had been an attractive motif. Now the sides would be concave, highlighted by moldings. They'd become known as dent sides. In 1975, the extended or super cab would join the option list, and the new model F-150 would supplement, rather than replace, the F-100. In 1978, the extremely popular Bronco series would have its first major redesign since they hit showrooms back in 1966. Yes, now the Bronco would be part of the F-Series through its demise in 1996, before being resurrected over 20 years later. Gen 7, 1980 to 1986. Once again, these trucks would be the recipients of a major restyling. Not a cosmetic restyling, but rather a completely new chassis as well, because it really hadn't been updated since the first twin I-beam front suspension in 1965. This new look was modern and fresh, just like the trucks from General Motors were. During this generation, Ford, in conjunction with International Harvester, developed a completely new 6.9-liter diesel V8 in 1983 for the F-250 and 350. The nickname for these is a bit harsh, in our opinion, but because bullnose seems rather unflattering for a beautiful design. Maybe the alternative slant nose is a bit less strident. Gen 8, 1987 to 1991. For these trucks, the name Brick Nose seems totally appropriate. Again in this generation, a totally new cosmetic facelift for America's best-selling trucks was in order. Now using composite plastic headlamp housings, like many of the Ford-built cars, these trucks looked great. The F-Series and Broncos were all fuel-injected by 1988, and a manual 5-speed transmission was now available with certain drivetrain and chassis combinations. New designer trucks became available, with fashion designer Eddie Bauer lending his name to a model with more deluxe options. They were easily identified by their stylish interiors and by the use of tan-colored paint along the truck's lower sheet metal. Eddie Bauers were also available in the Ford Bronco's sister truck, the Bronco 2. For those that liked the sporty good looks of a flare-side or step-side pickup, they'd have to buy one from another company, since Ford suspended production of them until the next generation. Gen 9, 1992 to 1996. The next styling cycle brought the truck buyer's market what we think is perhaps Ford's most beautiful design. Aerodynamics and lighter weight materials were now being used to squeeze every last bit of fuel economy for all new vehicles by then. The truck's nickname is Aero Nose, or OBS, for original body style. The flare side returned from being absent in the previous generation, and by 1993, Ford's new performance division, known as SVT, or Special Vehicle Team, had developed a high-performance F-150 regular cab two-wheel drive model called Lightning, a name that would be used on at least two more future versions of the F-150. In conjunction with the pickup, SVT also fielded an amazing Mustang called Cobra to sit side by side together in specially qualified SVT dealerships across the country. This would be the last and what most consumers think a traditional Ford pickup should look like. The Bronco would make its last appearance in '96, until being resurrected again in 2021. Gen 10, 1997 to 2004. This new F-150 was once again totally redesigned, not only cosmetically, but mechanically as well. No longer offering a pushrod engine, all modular engines were now being used. They were known as Tritons. Thus, this is the nickname for this generation, or the less common internal designation of PN96. The original body style would carry on as the F250 and 350 for 2 more years as a 1997 model, and until the all-new Super Duty debuted in 1999. Now the F-Series would be offered in 2 distinctly different trucks. For 2 years, Ford also offered a lighter-duty F-250 based on the new F-150. They didn't sell well. I was in Ford parts at the time, and all this was quite confusing to customers and dealer personnel too. During this time, all supercabs had hinged doors behind the regular doors for easier access to the cargo area. A new Super Crew body debuted with 4 full-size doors. The Lightning truck would return in '99, this time with a supercharged 5.4-liter engine. They were available through 2004, and all were 2-wheel drive regular cab flare sides. Ford also struck a deal with Harley-Davidson to sell limited edition commemorative trucks, which they did from 2000 until 2012. Even Lincoln got into the light pickup truck market in 2002 with their 1-year-only Blackwood. This generation alone could make a 1-hour video. Gen 11, 2004 to 2008. Well, the nicknames given from Gen 10 on up are not creative in the least. They're all Ford's internal reference numbers for those models. For this generation, that would be P221. The Super Crew was an extremely popular body style, but Ford kept building the other 2 body styles as well, the regular cab and the extended or Super Cab. Now, though, these bodies would have shorter doors behind the standard doors for cab access. Really, nothing much of significance was produced that wasn't already out, but extensive planning was going on for the next generation. Gen 12, 2009 to 2014. The F-150 as well as its big brother were both restyled, but the 150 now looked a lot more like the Super Duty. Its nickname is P415. At a quick glance, it was hard to tell them apart, but they were undeniably Ford. This generation would offer the first Raptor in 2010, an all-out performance F-150 that included all-wheel drive and a 6.2-liter V8 engine. It was not available as a regular cab. A new high-end offering called the Limited was sold alongside another deluxe truck, the Platinum. Man, Ford had several ways for well-to-do people to buy into the F-150 family at that time. Gen 13, 2015 to 2020. The significance of this P552 generation cannot be overstressed. Having done all they could to get better fuel economy from their powertrains, Ford engineers could only do one thing: lighten the bodies. Because they're trucks and many are used on job sites, simply substituting lighter weight components may compromise the ability of these trucks to work every day. By using aluminum to construct the body panels, it would save a lot of weight, while still being rigid enough to be built Ford tough. Now, 3 different V6s were available in the F-150, but only one V8, the Coyote, displaced 5 liters. Gen 14, 2021 to present. Not much has changed and nothing in the rumor mill about future developments. This generation doesn't even have a nickname yet. Well, that wraps up our look of nicknames for Ford's iconic F-Series. Which one's your favorite and why? Let us know in the comments. Be sure to check out next week's video. Thanks for watching.